All right, welcome back. So at this point, players have decided to play in your event. So since this is a self-guided hunt, they've chosen to buy it off the store. If it had been a hosted hunt, by the way, this would be like the equivalent of when they put in the hunt code, right? So I think there's a button right here. So enter hunt code. If they came in that way, then they've downloaded your hunt. What's the first thing players see, right? So I mean, they see on the Cluekeeper homepage kind of the description. But this screenshot, what it is I think it's kind of neat. It's a breakdown of kind of what the app looks like, right? So the way the app works is it's kind of got Cluekeeper's homepage, but then once they go into your hunt, they see your hunt's main page. So your hunt's main page kind of has a different look before the hunt starts, has a different look during the hunt, and then it has a different look after the hunt. And that's actually where we're going to focus right here. I mean, once they go into your clues, they'll see a clue list. And then the clues will have whatever content they have. Actually, in ours, since they're mini hunts, this tree would get even bigger, but I'm not going to worry about that. We're just focused on, your hunt main. And what we're focused on is we're focused on the different stages in the life of your hunt main page. So before it started, it'll kind of say words like, we hope you enjoy this, because they haven't started yet. During the hunt, it'll say things like, we hope you are enjoying, because they're actively playing in it. And then when they finished all the clues, you have an option. If you want to use it, you have an option of making a hunt finish code. I am going to use that option here just so I can show you how it works. And then that's kind of like the final finish code that lets them finish their hunt. Usually that finish code is used for things like, if it's a hosted hunt, it'd be used to say like, go to the finish location for the party, right? And so like once they arrive at that finish location, you just tell them, hey, the finish code is, blah. You just make up some finish code, and that's how they would finish the hunt. That's like when they cross the finish line. Self-guided hunts usually don't have a finish code, to be honest, but I put it in here just to show you that it exists. And then once the hunt's over, it usually says some type of thanks for playing message like that. And again, we're just worried about the hunt setup here, so it's kind of like at the hunt level, and we're not worried about all the mini hunts at all in this one. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this is also a great opportunity to do some more reading. So we're switching tabs into the start info, which means that there's some more information for you to read. So I recommend that you open up your hunt review guidelines tab, and you find the start info area, and you read a little bit about what we recommend as best practice for start info. That one's pretty short, so pause the video and you can go do that. Then in order to actually implement ours, what you're going to need is you're actually going to need some images next. So I prepared a lot of images for you. I love to put images in my hunt. I feel like it really raises the production value to make it more graphical. And so there's a zip file. I'll put a link above as well that you're going to need to download. We're going to be using these files kind of throughout the hunt. Once you download it, you should see that there's a kind of a folder structure to it. So there's this building exterior, which is an image that we use kind of at the highest level. And then there's stuff for like each mini clue. So the only one we really need is this file right here, building exterior. But it's important that you go ahead and get them all just because we're going to be using them kind of throughout. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be setting up hunt main for before your hunt begins. So that's the start info on your hunt. So go ahead and go into the start info. The first thing to notice that you may be surprised by is that the start GPS location is already filled out. And that's because since this was a self-guided hunt, we had to fill it out like a couple tabs ago because it was required then. That is the same location that's here, right? So if I click on show map, I can see it took me to right where I put it before. So in order to start this hunt, I'm going to have you type in the word explore. It's got kind of a thematic thing with the way the Terre Haute Children's Museum, so explore. The next thing I get is whether I want to show directions or not. I do want to show driving directions so people can actually like have the Cluekeeper app out and click on the show driving directions. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But it's a really handy feature, so you can get somewhere with showing driving directions. You should always be using show driving directions, right? Like I consider that something you should just always be using. Then what I'm going to do specific here is I'm also going to enforce it. And I'm not enforcing it to be a bad guy. I'm enforcing it to try to help my players out. Because if they start the hunt and they're just not even there yet. They just started on accident. Then their timer starts, right? So like their score is like running. So I put in an enforcement on here just to help them, right? Because I don't want them to be mad later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, don't use the default, which for start codes is not to enforce. I do want to enforce it. Whenever you enforce something, you enforce it within a certain GPS radius. The default GPS radius that we have is 25 meters. That's usually good enough for people's devices. But to be honest, since my goal here is to be nice to them, I'm going to actually make it big, right? The only use case I want to prevent is I want to prevent the fact that they might still be at home. They're not even there yet, right? So I'm going to put on just a what I consider a pretty big number. This is like half a mile. I forget what it is exactly, but it's a big number. So 500 meters. So I'm just trying to prevent them from accidentally starting it. The hunt intro text, you can copy it from above. It is, in fact, quite lengthy. Not about to type that one. And so I just went ahead and pasted it in. You'll notice that it has some HTML in it. HTML is totally valid. So you can kind of click on the preview here. You can see the word explore showed up in bold and green. And it's got this list, and you can see what that looks like. If you know HTML, you can use it here. If you're not really an HTML person, we'll work on making you a better editor. But it's totally valid to put in HTML, and that is so handy. Like you can just like being able to do little things like making the word explore green and show up is just really nice. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an image. The way the website works is you do have to save it before you add the image. And you can complain to me if you want about that, but that's how it works. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find that image. So building exterior. So I'm going to go ahead and put in building exterior. And so this defines what my hunt main page looks like before the hunt starts. So I've given them all this information, and then I've actually told them the start code. For self-guided hunts, as we talked about in the guidelines, you just have to tell it to them, right? If it was a hosted hunt, you would stand up in front of everybody and you would say the start code is, and they would all go. But here, since it's a self-guided, you have to just put it in. So that takes care of before it starts. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go look at what does this hunt main page look like during the event. So during the event is kind of the content, right? So the content is where all your clues are going to go. So we're going to put in one placeholder clue for now, but that's all we're going to put in because I want to actually test this thing before I get too far into it. So let's go ahead and do the placeholder now. What the heck? So just to add a new clue, call it placeholder. It'll just make your flow better if you have some clue in there when you go to test it, right? Inside the content, we'll just say the solution is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a joke from a movie called Spaceballs. It's the kind of combination an idiot would have on his luggage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my placeholder clue. I did that really fast, right? I literally just went into the content. I just said the solution is. I went into the solve info. I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just kind of clicked around using these shortcut links here. Hopefully, if you've done the other tutorial series, you could actually do that on your own just fine. So there's my one little placeholder clue. The next is what text do I want to show during the hunt? And during the hunt, I'm just going to paste it in here. We want to say like, the phrasing is like, we hope you are enjoying this hunt. And then there's some other information in here that you can read once you actually like try to test it. So we've got those things. Next is an image, and then there's some UI options. The UI option that I like to use personally is I like to show unavailable hints. That won't come up at all until we add hints. But like in the second floor mini hunt, we're going to add some hints and stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead and check that because that's what I like to do. And then we're going to save it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to add the same image again, right? So this image, it's not part of the clue. I just think it makes the hunt look better. It just makes it look more polished to have a graphic on there. It's literally just an image of the building, right? And so I just made the same thing during the hunt that I did before you started. Great, so that's the before, and that's the during. Then now we need to do if we want to finish code, and then what does hunt main look like after the event? Bear with me, and if you just kind of keep following along, once we test it, it'll all come together. So the finish area. Well, first I'll say that we're on a new tab. So there's probably some new reading, right? So if you kind of come down in your reading, so the hunt review guidelines, I know it's hard to do the reading now, but I assure you you're not going to do it later, so you may as well do it now. And this one turned out to be really short, right? So you got rewarded for going to actually look. The hunt finish code is fun for all ages. The casing actually is always uppercase, but you can see that if you save it, it'll just change it to fun for all ages, all uppercase. So that's the solution. There's no way that solution makes sense to you yet, but I assure you it will. So fun for all ages. That's kind of like the final thing that ends this whole hunt. The instructions, I'll just copy it again. So if you have solved all the mini hunts, enter that message here to finish the actual hunt. And then the other one with text is thanks for playing. So this is like before they've put in that finish code, and then this is they've put it in, they're completely done. What do you want to say to them? You say thanks for playing or something like that. So I'm going to save that one, and then you don't have to do this. I'm going to choose to add that same image, the building exterior, to both places, right? So essentially that image, it kind of is in all 4 states. So that image is there before the hunt started, in progress, when they're doing the finish code, and when the hunt is over. Great. So we're ready to test this thing. So since we're ready to test, what we're going to do is, we're first going to glance at the summary, right? So the summary will tell you if there's any issues. I recommend that you only test when there are no issues. If you have issues in your hunt and you start doing testing, some weird things can happen. So I recommend you always check this, and you only test it when you have no issues. Now that we know that we have no issues, we're ready to actually do some testing. So I'm going to go up to this test hunt area, create a test registration, and then just click register without filling out any of the fields. You've seen that before in the card game, so I just kind of went over it quickly there. The hunt code that you see here, I'll try to blur it out in the video. It has no value to you. Mine has no value to you. You should definitely be using yours, right? And so this hunt code is what you're going to go put into your app. So you're going to have to go digging your phone out of your pocket or something like that. And you're going to click on enter hunt code, and you're actually just going to type in that hunt code, right? You may notice that whenever players find your work, they're going to go into find hunts to find it. But when you test it, it doesn't matter if it's a hosted or a self-guided, you test it with a hunt code, right? So it works the same in either area. So now we can see what we've made, right? So this is our hunt main page. This is before the hunts began. The hunt has began. It says, we hope you enjoy it, things like that. Since this is a test registration, it says the word test at the bottom, and you also have this button, test GPS location. So this test GPS location, this is just for you. Players won't have a button like this, but it tells you if you're in the right spot or not. Apparently I'm way far away. I must be in California. I'm using a simulator here, so I could really be anywhere in the world. The other button you'll see is the Take Me There button. This one should take you from wherever you're at to the GPS location you put in. Yeah, sure enough, my GPS or my simulator's in California. So if I wanted to drive to the Terre Haute Children's Museum, it's going to be a long drive for me. So Take Me There is a button players will see. And then the last button is Enter Start Code. You can click on Enter Start Code right now, but it's going to go badly for you, right? So if I say Enter Start Code, it's just going to say you're in the wrong spot. And we did this to protect players so that they didn't accidentally start it. Since this is a test registration, you can get around it though. You can actually just disable GPS enforcement. And there's a big bar that shows up saying that you have it disabled right now. This is something players will not have, right? So this is just for you. Since if you're sitting in your home, you don't want to go walking around, just disable GPS enforcement. At some point, you definitely need to go walk around and have it be on. But when you're sitting at home, you can just turn it off, right? And now we're always in the right spot, no matter what. So now I can type. The way the system works is you can only type if you're in the correct spot. So I'm in the correct spot, so I can type. I can put in Explore. Now I'm inside my hunt. I'm actually playing it. This is my clue list. If I were to go look at Hunt Main, some people don't ever look at it during the hunt, but you can go look at it. It will say, we hope you are enjoying this interactive way. I also get annoyed by the red bar there, so sometimes I enable GPS just so the red bar goes away, right? it also will remind me if something ever fails. It will remind me that I've got GPS there. So I have one clue in this hunt. I'm going to go ahead and solve it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Crushed it. So I've got 10 points for the clue. Then it takes me back to my hunt main page. This is because I put in that optional finish code thing, right? So most self-guided hunts won't have this, but I just wanted to show you the features there. Hosted hunts regularly do use it, especially if there's like a finish location, but rarely self-guideds usually don't. I had one that I could put in. It's fun for all ages. And sure enough, that finishes the hunt. Now I'm genuinely done with it. I got a score of 10 points. Good for me. And it says, thanks for playing. So everything is kind of past tense. You'll notice that we do let players like go in and see the clues just so they can like reminisce and things, but the hunt is definitely over. The other thing that I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and reset the hunt because next time when I test, I want to kind of start from the beginning. And I also want to clean up some things. For example, I've got that placeholder clue. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, get rid of that, just so that next time when we start adding real content, we can start fresh. So I'm going to delete placeholder, and I have no clues right now. Great. So we've got hunt main done all the way through. We kind of did like the big picture on that, the whole umbrella, and we've got rid of our clue for next time. All right, that's all we've got for the hunt main area. Come back next time, and we'll start in on our first mini hunt. All right, see you then.